Hey, what's up, it's Luka and welcome to the video. You could probably already guess from the title of this video, but in this video I'm gonna compare what it was like to come out as gay and then what it was like to come out as trans. Because I am in fact both trans and okay, I'm not gay, I'm bi, but I'm not straight. Surprise. So I was kind of growing up believing I was a straight woman. Sounds so weird saying that now, but that's what society told me I was, so I believed it. But anyways, after I finished school I came out as gay, or I guess bi, or I just said I like girls too, and I guess people interpreted that as me being a lesbian, but whatever. I didn't really care about labels and I still don't. And then after I finished my bachelor's degree at uni, I kind of came out as trans. I was also going by non-binary for a while, but we're just gonna leave that out now. When I finally came out to everybody as like not straight, I was so happy and so relieved. I was like, yes, I'm gonna live my life now just the way I want it. And 2 seconds later I was like, oh fuck, I think I'm trans. It was a bit frustrating because that meant I had to come out all over again. And in this video I'm just gonna compare and contrast those experiences, because there were some similarities but they were also quite different, and I learned different life lessons from both of them. So if you are also a part of the LGBTQ+ community, it took me like 5 times to say this correctly, this video should be very interesting for you. But also if you're, you know, straight, I think you can still take some valuable life lessons away from this video. Because like, challenges are hard, but they make you a stronger person in the end, so I guess that's good. Anyways, I'm gonna start with telling you about my experiences of coming out as gay, then I'm gonna talk about my experiences coming out as trans, and in the end I'm gonna compare them and tell you what I learned from both of them. So let's talk about coming out as gay, or not straight, I guess. I spent most of my teenage years believing I was straight because I guess I thought guys were cute. I had a lot of crushes on guys, mostly guys that were like fictional characters or just like people so far out of my reach that I had no chance. But that was fun. I mean, having crushes on people that don't even know you exist. I mean, why not? Yes, and looking back, I definitely had crushes on girls too, but whenever those feelings came up, I would kind of just suppress them. I suppressed a lot of feelings in general. Like, I didn't even date anyone while I was still in high school. I'm not saying you have to necessarily date to figure out your sexuality, but I think it does help a lot to figure out who you actually like. So I was really awkward and shy in high school, like not around my friends, but when it came to dating, I mean, my dating life was non-existent, so... Anyways, I think I was also just not ready to come out in high school because of the social pressures, and I was kind of just trying to focus on school and like doing my thing and getting out of there. Another issue of mine was that I was a tomboy, so I was acting and dressing very masculine. Nobody was really pushing the idea of me being a lesbian because I like doing masculine things, but I was definitely aware of that stereotype and I didn't want that. I was really in that mindset of just because I like to wear man's clothing doesn't mean I'm a lesbian. That was so cute. Also, I've never really identified with the word lesbian. I wonder why. Let's get to the coming out though. After I finished high school, I had a lot of time to myself, so naturally I did a lot of thinking, and I was kind of like, oh, girls are hot too, maybe I like them. And then I spent so much time on YouTube watching coming out videos, doing like am I gay quizzes, just going crazy in my head basically, because I obviously didn't want to come out because that was scary. I didn't like talking to people about my feelings in general, and then part of me was, I guess, ashamed of the fact that I liked girls, even though I knew that probably most of my friends, if not all of them, would just accept me like that. Most of the people around me were very chill and open-minded, and I honestly didn't think they would have a problem with it, but I was still scared because I felt like I was hiding something, or I don't know, I was just really nervous. At this point I was also really insecure about myself and my identity. I was just not very confident at this point in my life. I hadn't really done anything. I grew up in this really small town and I just knew nobody who was queer, at least nobody that I was like really close with was queer, and gay people weren't really bullied, but they were definitely being talked about. I was in the football team, for example, and I feel like one time, like in the changing room, people were like gossiping about this girl on the other team, and they were kind of shitting on her, like also because she was on the other team and like doing things that we weren't happy with, but they were also saying that she was a lesbian, and that had a very negative connotation. Just because gay people weren't like harassed or bullied or like being made fun of in like an obvious way didn't mean that everybody was super accepting and supportive of gay people. It was like this weird in between, and I definitely didn't feel comfortable. And yes, the missing representation of queer people like in the media, but also in like my real everyday life, was definitely a problem. Anyway, so I was really nervous, really insecure, really just going crazy because I wasn't going anywhere, just thinking about it by myself. And this summer after high school, I went traveling with my friend and we went to Canada. And in Canada, we were staying at this hostel and I met this girl there. And I don't remember what she said exactly, but like from what she said, it was clear that she was into women. And I was so nervous because that was my chance right there to talk to someone who would understand me. And on one of our last evenings there, I finally found the courage and I talked to her and I spilled like all my thoughts and feelings and secrets to this random stranger. Whew, that was scary, but also very, very liberating, I have to say. Like just verbalizing it for the first time just felt so good. Because then it wasn't the scary thing in my head anymore, but like it was real and like it was fine and nothing really bad happened. Shortly after that, I moved away from home to go to uni and I just kind of like told people there. I don't know how, but it just worked out. Maybe it was the fact that nobody really knew me there and it was kind of a fresh start. And yeah, step by step, I just came out to everybody else in my life and that was good. It wasn't nearly as scary as I hyped it up in my head. I'm not saying it's not a big deal, but like the more you build it up in your head, the like bigger of a deal it becomes. Once you say it over and over again, you just kind of realize that like it's not a big deal. It's okay. Life goes on. People don't really care, and if they do care, they have something to figure out. Okay, let's talk about my second coming out experience, namely coming out as trans. So if gay representation was bad growing up, trans representation was even worse. Most of my life I didn't even know that it was a possibility. It was just something that was never ever really talked about. So yeah, as I said, growing up I was a tomboy because I liked being a boy. I was just very much like a boy when I was growing up. But I also liked feminine things. Like as a kid I just did whatever I wanted. And I'm really glad that when I was growing up people weren't like trying to police my gender. Nobody ever really told me like, oh, you can't do this because this is for boys or girls only. So I was just being me as a kid and I didn't really think about gender much because I could do whatever I wanted. But then when puberty started I was like I didn't enjoy it at all, like what was happening to my body. And then like as you get older, gender expectations also become higher. People were like, oh, now you're growing up, now you have to be a woman. but I don't want to. So as a teenager I was just very miserable because I was kind of like uncomfortable, but I didn't know why. And even when I did find out that trans people exist, I never thought that it was an actual possibility for me. I don't know if that makes sense, but just because like this like 1 in a million person on TV was transitioning, I didn't think that I could do that too. But then coming out as gay or bi, I guess it made me realize that there is more to the LGBT plus community. And I thought trans guys were so cool and I was so jealous because I wanted to transition as well. I was so fascinated by that and like I don't know, for some reason I still didn't realize, or I did realize and then I pushed it away again because I was scared. Once again, I was scared. I didn't want to admit it to myself or tell anyone because I was probably not ready to deal with it yet. And maybe that's okay, maybe it was just not the time and place for me to come out. I had a million other things to figure out in my life and maybe it would have just been too much for me at once. So I came up with like a million excuses for why I couldn't be trans. I didn't know that I was trans when I was 3 years old, so I guess I can't be. I kind of hate my body, but it's like not so bad that I can't leave the house. I'm probably not trans. I wish people saw me as a guy, but like I guess this is okay, I can live with it. Yeah, so that was the denial phase. But then as life went on, I kind of just started transitioning subconsciously. I was kind of just doing all these things that made me more me, and I guess they also made me more manly. Like I cut my hair, I experimented more with my clothing style, I got male underwear, I got a binder, and eventually I just couldn't hide it anymore and I just finally wanted other people to see me as me too. I came out to people step by step and I think overall people took it really well. Obviously not everybody is as informed about this topic, so some people don't really get it, like they're not transphobic or anything, they just don't understand. And then I kind of just changed my name on social media and hoped that other people would just catch up. I didn't really want to like come out to everybody and make it a big deal, so I just changed the name. Spoiler alert, not everybody got the hint, but it was okay. Eventually it worked out and yeah. I should stop doing the peace signs all the time, but it's so tempting. Okay, let's compare those two experiences. They were very similar in that I was very nervous and very anxious both times, and I kept overthinking everything in my head, and I was like so scared to tell people, and this just kept going on until I couldn't take it anymore. I was feeling so overwhelmed, so I finally had to tell people. Looking back, I think I wish I would have told people sooner. That would have made it a lot easier for me, but it is what it is. I think it should be normalized to come out to people when you're still questioning your gender or your sexuality, but a lot of people, including myself, feel like they won't be taken seriously if they're not 100% sure themselves. So that's also partly why I was scared to come out, because I thought people wouldn't take me seriously or wouldn't believe me. Like, that was definitely a fear of mine. But I think the whole coming out process would be a lot easier if you could just tell people along the way and not when you're like absolutely sure in the end. So of course, coming out as gay or bi or just liking girls in general was a lot easier than coming out as trans, because it was kind of just extra information about yourself that you told people. It wasn't really a big deal. It was just like they had more information about you, and if they want to ask you if you're dating someone, they're not gonna, you know, they're gonna phrase the question differently. But other than that, it doesn't really make a difference. But obviously that doesn't mean that coming out as gay is like any less stressful. It was still really stressful because back then I was not as confident as I am now. And even though I knew it wasn't true, it seemed like I was the only one who was feeling these things, and I barely knew any queer people then, so it was super scary. Maybe like looking back, it was good that I came out this way, like step by step. First I had this coming out experience as not straight, and in the meantime I could just kind of do my thing, like grow up, go to uni, travel, and this whole process of growing up and becoming more confident kind of made me ready, like prepared me for this coming out experience as trans. And also took me a lot longer to come out as trans. Like I said earlier, I thought about being gay intensively for like one summer, and then I was pretty sure and I came out and all was fine. But before I came out as trans, I probably thought about it for years and years and years until I was like really sure. It was a lot harder to come to terms with and just to process in general, because it had so many implications for my life and also for the life of other people. I knew that when I came out, people had to change and adjust their behavior. They had to call me by a different name, different pronouns. For some reason I felt super guilty about that, like I was being like this big burden on other people's lives, even though I knew that it shouldn't be a big deal. Like, it's just a different name, different pronouns. You get used to it so easily. But still I felt guilty because I needed to ask people to do something for me, and sometimes ask them repeatedly if they did it wrong. Also about my sexuality, I didn't really have to come out to anyone unless I wanted to. But before I started taking testosterone, I sometimes had to come out to strangers if I wanted them to gender me correctly, or I could not come out, and then sometimes I would get misgendered. Like, it was both a struggle. When you come out as gay, the whole coming out process is already like the end of it. People know your sexuality now, cool, nice, let's move on. And then eventually you'll hopefully date someone of the gender you prefer, but that's just normal life, and it doesn't really have anything to do with like coming out anymore. But when you come out as trans, it's like only the beginning of a journey that like incorporates a million steps until you're like done. You have to find a new name, get it changed legally, find a therapist, go on hormones, think about surgeries, justify your identity to so many people, having to explain yourself over and over again, and so many other things. So the coming out moment is really just the beginning of the like long transition journey. So both coming out experiences were like hard and rewarding at the same time, each in their own way. Now I'm just gonna share like some of the most valuable life lessons I learned from these coming out experiences. We as people only really grow from doing uncomfortable things. If we just stay inside of our comfort zone, we don't really make progress ever. And coming out is definitely outside of that comfort zone. It did make me grow as a person. I definitely became more confident. Overcoming challenges in general makes you more confident, I think. The more challenges I faced in my life, the more I realized that even though it seems impossible when you're like in the moment, when you're like right in the middle of the challenge, but for some reason I always come out the other end, and then I've overcome the challenge, and all of a sudden everything is okay again. And the more often you do that, the more often you overcome challenges where you first thought it would be impossible, the less scary it becomes to face these challenges, because you just have that trust that everything's gonna be okay in the end. And in a way, right now I feel like anything's possible. Like I've transitioned. I can do anything now. Also, I think everybody needs to hear this. Life is simply too short to hide your true self just to please other people. Just go after the things you really want and don't worry too much about what other people think of you. People either don't care at all and then they just don't think about you, and if they do care and give you shit about it, they're probably really jealous because they're not going after their dreams, but you are. So in conclusion, you got this. Go for what you want. I hope this video was informational or educational or entertaining. I hope you have a fantastic day. See you soon. Bye.